Valos crosses his arms, giving me a serious look. He's like, "Why didn't you dodge?"
Why didn't you dodge?
Alright, welcome back, any and everybody. This is Linen Otter, here to do another episode of The Taste of Fire. It's been a while. What were we up to again? Oh yeah, potentially getting training.
Ideally, I'd like to take you out to the local training grounds, or perhaps the forest beyond the settlement.
He raises a hand up before I can voice my objections.
I know. I'd rather not risk you being seen right now either, which means that this will have to do. The room is spacious enough, and I will not be teaching you anything that requires more than that yet. Before that, however, I want to make sure you're not in pain anymore, yes?
I should be fine. Don't worry. He takes a moment to gauge whether or not I'm lying, then, seemingly satisfied, nods and begins rummaging through his belongings, and he pulls out a timer, saying that I forgot to set it earlier. Oh, thanks, Valos. You're the best.
No problem.
Let's see here. Timer. Alright. Shortly afterwards, he produces a short yet ornate dagger. It catches the light from outside for a second, giving off a bright shine from its polished blade. The handle is wrapped in dark leather, and the guard is shaped like two tiny dragon heads staring in opposite sides. I chuckle a little at that. The dagger looks quite small in Val's hands. Val? But when he gives it to me, it feels just right in my palm. I turned it over and over, examining it. Not that I know the first thing about smithing to be able to judge the craftsmanship. The local blacksmith in Alnwick didn't care for me, so I never got a chance to learn anything from him. Frick, jeez, where'd that come from? I don't believe I'd given a single reason. I don't believe I'd given a single reason to dislike me, aside from apparently being willing to call him a prick. I think he just found the orphans annoying. Okay, maybe there's that. Regardless, the dagger feels pretty good in my hand. The cold metal warms quickly at my touch, and while it's a little heavier than it looks, the edge of the blade is sharp and well maintained. So,
Let us begin with the grip.
I know how to hold a knife, Valos.
Dagger. Dagger. And that's Mr. Valos to you.
Oh, what the heck? He suddenly lashes out, jabbing me in the forearm, taking me completely by surprise. As I quickly retract my arm, the dagger falls, lodging itself in the floorboards. I see what he's going for. Ow! Valos crosses his arms, giving me a serious look. He's like, "Why didn't you dodge?"
Why didn't you dodge? See how easy it was to disarm you?
You surprised me.
Even if I hadn't, your grip was all wrong. The result would have been the same.
I grumble under my breath a little as I retrieve the dagger. All right, point taken. We start with the grip. The dragon nods seriously and steps towards me. He puts his hand on mine, adjusting my grip, finger by finger. I feel heat creeping onto my cheeks at this kind of touch. Not something that I'm used to. Not even remotely. No, that's all wrong. Oops. No, that's all wrong. He's just teaching me how to wield a weapon. Why am I being stupid about this? It takes me a moment to realize that Valos is speaking to me. I quickly clear my throat and focus my mind on his explanation. Once that's over with, he gets me to try out some simple slashes and jabs with the weapon, like A, B, and some other combos. I can't help but feel a little silly as I swing it around aimlessly. Valos claims it's just to get me used to its weight. Not much to get used to there, but I'm not about to question him again. Finally, he steps back, nodding.
Now, about that stance.
What about? Just as unexpectedly as before, Val's heavy tail collides with my legs, sweeping them from right under me. I crash onto the floor with a heavy thud, landing right on my behind. Jeez, he asked me if I was in pain earlier. Like, well, I am now. Ow! What was that for? Valos rushes over to me, concern painted on his face. He gently pulls me up, then cringes away at my anger.
I'm sorry. The dragon who trained me wasn't very gentle, and I picked up some bad habits. I'm really sorry about that. I hope you're not hurt.
I rub my bottom while glaring at the dragon before huffing and holding up the dagger. I'll live.
Sorry.
It's fine. I guess I should have expected that. Valos is clear to apologize again, but reconsiders at my annoyed grunt and steps behind me instead. I tense at his approach, but instead of trying to trip me again, he goes about adjusting my stance like he did my grip, only even more gently this time, as if I'm made of glass. I try to focus, despite the way he's looming over me. That would make for a really good art piece. While I'm trying to practice drawing, maybe I'll draw that. That becomes much harder to do once he presses his body against my back so he can adjust the way I'm holding up the arm with the dagger. I can feel his powerful chest muscles brushing up against me, his snout hovering right above my shoulder while he grips me lightly at the forearm.
Are you getting tired, Sam? It sounds like you're winded.
Of course I'm breathing heavily. You can't just stand right behind me like that and expect me not to react. No, not at all. To my relief, mixed with just a little bit of disappointment, Valos retreats, and I turn to face him.
All right. That should do it. Just remember what I showed you. Just now. I'll be watching.
His tail does a slow sweeping motion, and despite falling victim to it not so long ago, I laugh. I'll make sure to give you no openings like that.
Good. Next we should work on the strikes more, where to aim and such. And I suppose some training in unarmed combat wouldn't go awry, in case you ever lose that.
He points at the dagger. Do you need to be very good at unarmed combat? You can breathe fire, after all.
It's true that I have more natural powers than humans, but that would be a last resort.
Have you ever had to use fire like that? Valos gives me a strange look before shaking his head.
No, never. I'm quite proficient with my sword.
Yeah, I remember, back in the forest. You defeated that bandit pretty easily. Valos shrugs indifferently. I stared down at the dagger. He didn't teach me much yet, but despite landing on my ass and getting suddenly hit in the arm, I'm looking forward to continuing the lessons.
Shall we?
At my nod, Val plants himself in front of me, using himself as an example of where I should be aiming my strikes. None of that is a surprise, but I listen carefully anyway. He spends some time explaining how to deal with armor as well, the vulnerabilities I could exploit to slide my dagger in between overlapping plates and such. Now that is far more interesting, but I quickly get overwhelmed.
I suppose it would be easier if you had access to armor so I could actually show you. A consideration for another time.
The bustle on the plaza outside reaches its peak as Valos continues his lesson. Seeing as how there's no training dummy I can practice on, we move on to the unarmed combat. Valos reiterates that none of this is something I can even remotely master in a day, but it's good to have at least some idea of what I'm doing. Don't worry, if you're an anime protagonist, it'll come in handy whenever you need it to. With any luck, I'll get more lessons in the future. The dragon seems surprised that I can throw a punch. I suppose he hasn't lived in a village where minor brawls between youngsters are a common sight. I'm far from helpless when it comes to dealing with other humans. It's the beastmen that would give me trouble. Case in point, Valos uses his advantage in sheer mass to easily push me around, although he then takes the time to explain how I could use my smaller size and greater speed to my advantage. By the time Herschel comes knocking to complain about all the racket coming from the room, I'm sweaty and tired, but realizing that I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I wouldn't mind more lessons like this, that's for certain. Herschel has been bringing me a wooden basin with water that I've been using to clean up, but that won't cut it this time. I glance over at Valos, who's busy putting his stuff away again. He doesn't sweat, obviously, and doesn't look particularly tired either, although that is hardly surprising. Do dragons not sweat, or is it just because he wasn't trying so hard? Ugh, I will need a bath after this. The dragon pauses, turning to give me a once-over that has me shift uncomfortably, then nods.
I could use one as well. Take a breather. I'm going to ask Herschel about it.
At my nod, he leaves the room, and I'm left with my thoughts, which turn immediately to the way Valos' body was pressed up against me mere minutes ago as he adjusted my arm position yet again. There was an odd warmth to his scales, far from the coarse, cold sensation that one would expect at a glance. He said he needs a bath too, and before I have a chance to stop myself, my mind is busy imagining just that. Valos, completely in the nude, standing in front of me. Just as quickly, I shake my head to banish the thoughts. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. I've bathed with others before, as a child and as an adult. Privacy isn't something that was afforded to us in that small village. I'm just still reeling from the extended close contact we had, except Valos was completely nonchalant about it, as if there was nothing awkward or unusual. Of course, he'd be correct. It was just a training session. Everything else is entirely a product of my overzealous imagination. Yes, that and the fact that I haven't been able to attend to my needs in some time now, that does things to a man. Things like the question of the appearance of Val's nether regions posing itself to me, completely unbidden. He has undressed in front of me before, when he was preparing to sleep in his corner, but never fully, and I must admit that I've been curious this whole time. I know that some beastmen are built differently than us humans, especially when it comes to down there. I doubt dragons would be different. Except, it doesn't matter in the slightest, because I'm certain Valos would have no interest in a nobody like me gawking at him in that way. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I've been cooped up in this room for too long. Worst of all, with someone who, I have to admit to myself, I find very attractive. For once, I actually hear Valos approaching the door before it opens. I realized I had begun pacing around the room while my mind was running wild, and I quickly take my seat again. Herschel follows him inside, smiling pleasantly. He's like, "Oh, right, we got a show today."
I'm told the two of you were looking to bathe?
I simply nod.
Well, as I just told Valos, there is a bathhouse in the town, but I doubt you would be open to going there, and we don't offer that at the inn. However, I happen to know a spot in the forest nearby that is host to a wonderful hot spring that you could use.
I raise my eyebrows and exchange a quick glance with Valos. Would that be any different than going to a bathhouse?
It is, for the most part. Me and some friends of mine who know about the location, and we like to keep it that way. Even if it wasn't, it's a little too far to be of everyday use, but not far enough that the journey would be tedious for either of you. I'm willing to bet that you will find it unoccupied.
I bite my lip and mull it over. All right. Should we go at night then?
No. I would rather not be walking through the forest that late. I think we should leave now. You can throw on a hood and walk in my shadow.
I peek out the window. The sun is still hours away from setting, and the plaza is still busy with beastmen. On the other hand, from what Herschel has explained to me on the first day I found myself here, the path to the forest shouldn't be all that difficult to navigate without being noticed. All right, shall we go? Yes, go! It's the classics, the hot spring scene. I feel like any good visual novel worth its salt has one of those. Valos smiles and nods, and Herschel explains how to get to the spring, then leaves and quickly returns with an oversized cloak with a hood. I put it on, conscious of how ridiculous I must look with a garment of this size hanging off my frame. Not about to complain about it, though. Before we head out, Valos hands me the leather sheath in which he hid the dagger earlier, warning me to keep it close at hand at all times in case of danger. A little surprised he would just give it to me like that. I nevertheless secure it at my belt, nodding gratefully at the dragon. With that, we leave through the back entrance, with me keeping my eyes trained on the stones below my feet while Valos guides us out. I thank my lucky stars when we finally emerge into the forest with no incident. Once I'm confident we're well out of sight of anyone from the town, I let the hood fall, breathing in the glorious fresh air. I was never one for outdoors, and my last trek through the woods has left me a little scarred, in body and mind, but I can't deny how great it feels to be outside after so many days being stuck in that stuffy room. I let Valos wander a little ahead of me as I take in the sounds. The chirping of the birds, the wind brushing through the leaves, animals skittering through the underbrush below. A squirrel is hopping from branch to branch, stopping here and there to stare around, its whiskers twitching. I follow its journey with an amused gaze until it disappears from sight. Quickening my step, I catch up to the dragon, who glances at me curiously.
Feeling well?
Yes, happy to be out of that inn, to be honest. Injuries or no, it's nice to stretch my legs a little. Valos chuckles as we step into a small meadow full of Valos chuckles as we step into a small meadow. Valos chuckles as we step into a small meadow full of sky blue flowers swaying gently in the wind. The forest beyond grows a little denser, sunlight filtering pleasantly through the thick foliage, more than enough to illuminate the way, but not so much as to become unpleasant on the skin. At that thought, I turn my head to the dragon. Can I ask some questions?
What about?
Just wondering some things about you. Or dragons, I mean.
Oh.
I swear I can see his shoulders tense a little. That causes me to hesitate, as I'm sure if he finds these inquiries irritating. Oh, that causes me to hesitate, as I'm unsure if he finds these inquiries irritating. I don't believe I've asked many questions these past few days, occupied as I was with the book Herschel had given me. He doesn't object, however, so I finally speak up again. I was just wondering what bathing is like for you, since you are covered in scales like that. His posture seems to relax as he gives me a restrained smile.
Just like it works for you, I imagine. We have to wash away the grime and dirt, not unlike your skin. No.
I see, but what does it feel like?
I've never really given it much thought. Normal, I suppose. The scales simply cover up the flesh, and not perfectly so. They're no impenetrable armor.
He tilts his head at me, and I suddenly become conscious of the way I've been staring at him while I was asking my questions. The dragon suddenly rounds on me, a smirk playing at his lips, and I freeze in my tracks. Nani, what's that look for?
If you're so curious, just go ahead and see for yourself.
He extends his arm towards me. I frown and take a step back.
You can see what it feels like, if you want.
I have touched you before. He lowers his arms a little, but the smirk does not disappear. In fact, it grows wider.
Clearly it was not enough, since you're still curious. Go ahead.
I swallow and reach out, barely grazing the scales covering his forearm with my fingers. Just like before, they are a little warm, and not entirely unpleasant to touch. Beyond that, I cannot help but notice the powerful muscles they hide, tensing a little at my touch. His arms are thick and strong, and the straps holding his braces in place only serve to accentuate the form. I quickly retract my hand back and step back before he realizes I'm busy admiring him.
Well?
It feels strange to me, but then again, I am covered in skin. That is far from what I am actually thinking, but it seems to satisfy the dragon, who turns away and begins walking again. The rest of the trek goes by in silence. Herschel was not lying when he said it was not quite a casual stroll in the woods to get to the springs, and I am beginning to worry a little when Val stops, staring up at the sun. He has done this several times now, making sure we're walking in the right direction. Satisfied, he strolls ahead again, but within several steps he disappears in some thick brush. I jog to catch up to him, and and as I emerge in another clearing, I gasp in awe. There is indeed a spring in front of us, only Herschel has really downplayed the grandeur of the place. I stand there, gaping at the breathtaking sight in front of me. Whoa. The water has pooled in a shallow depreciation amidst a rocky basin, its smooth surface glinting merrily in the afternoon sun. Steam wafts slowly off the pool, making it plenty obvious that this is indeed a hot spring. In the distance beyond the forest, hills rise steadily toward a great mountain, the peak of which seems to be covered in snow even at this time of year. More mountains flank it, with waterfalls cascading down their slopes, visible even at this distance. Quite simply, I've never seen anything like this in my life. The image before me is nothing like the cramped, dull village I grew up in, or even the lush but crowded forest that surrounded it. I slowly scan the spring, still marveling at the beauty of the place. It almost feels like someone carved it out by hand, even though the stone is far too irregular to have been shaped by beastmen. Although the locals have left a mark, a short wooden staircase right in front of me that Valos has already used to descend to the edge of the pool. As my eyes find him, I suddenly feel the heat rise to my cheeks.
Sam. Sam, are you not coming down?
What's that look? While I was staring around in rapt awe, the dragon had apparently been busy taking off his various straps and pieces of armor. With his upper body bare, he's now removing his pants. All thoughts of the astonishing landscape around us evaporate from my mind, as if they were puffs of steam drifting over the spring. To my embarrassment, the dragon notices me looking, and I swear he gives me a smug smirk right as the pants slide all the way down, allowing me a better glimpse of his firm, round buttocks. Immediately I avert my gaze, my cheeks burning, and I shift my legs so that he does not see my front. He calls out to me, a teasing note in his voice.
Sam, are you not coming down?
Yes, I was just appreciating the views. It really is beautiful here. I hear the splashing of water, and out of the corner of my eye, I see the dragon wade into the pool. Steadying my breath, I descend the stairs, still not quite looking at Valos, although I'm conscious of his gaze on me. I kick off my boots and take off my shirt, but when my fingers are at my belt buckle, I can't help but look at Valos. He's looking right back at me, his bottom half thankfully obscured by the water and the steam. Letting go of the belt, I stand there with a blank expression, scratching my head.
Are you well, Sam? The pool isn't deep.
I can see that. I'm just... Valos frowns before his face lights up in realization, and he coughs quickly in his hand.
Oh, do you want me to turn around? Would that help?
Damn it, why am I acting like a shy maiden on her wedding night? I would appreciate that. I expect Valos to laugh at my reluctance to undress, but he simply turns away and rests his arms at the edge of the pool. Gritting my teeth, I quickly pull the rest of my clothes off and, without bothering to arrange them in any way, promptly enter the water. Its warmth quickly envelops my body, and, despite myself, I let out a sigh of contentment. The pool at the center seems to be just deep enough to cover my waist, but I follow Valos' example and sit at the edge instead. Valos shifts, turning around slowly. He glances at me just once before throwing his head back and closing his eyes. Whether it's out of a lack of interest or because of my earlier reluctance to be seen, I can't tell. We bask in the warm feeling for a little while, with only the splashing of the water and the buzzing of the occasional insect to break the silence. It's so peaceful here. I'm not surprised Herschel keeps the knowledge of the spring to himself. I wish I had a secluded spot like this back in Alnwick, somewhere all to myself, where I could have snuck off to when I was feeling suffocated by the crowded village. Instead, I all but fled the moment I could, and found myself here, soaking in a hidden hot spring with a dragon, who has similarly left his home in the great Dragon Empire. A stark contrast to where I was not even a stark contrast to where I was not even a month ago. And despite the circumstances that led me here, I'm not about to complain. I'm enjoying Valos' silent company, and not just because he's so nice to look at. There's this nobility to him, and I don't mind the circumstances of his birth, but his bearing, his conduct, the way he has stayed around to help me, despite having no obligation to do so. Valos, I think I love you. He opens his eye to look at me. I just wanted to say, I am really grateful for everything. For saving me, for keeping me safe here, finding a shelter, offering to teach me fight, all that.
You do not need to thank me. You do not need to thank me, but you are welcome.
He gives me a warm smile as he says the words, and I feel the blush creeping up my cheeks yet again. We spend some time properly washing ourselves, then settle back into soaking for a little while longer. It is nice enough that I would not entirely mind staying until sunset or even later. Who knows? This place could be truly stunning under the moonlight. But as the sun starts to steadily descend towards the horizon, Valos insists we dry off and return to town. And this time around, as we climb onto the dry grass, I manage to not become a shy, stuttering mess. Valos actually offers to let me dress first while he looks away again, but I tell him there's no need. Even so, I cannot bring myself to check if he's looking at me at all while I'm still naked. I'm awkward enough as it is. I have pulled up my pants and reached down to grab my shirt when Valos suddenly speaks up.
Sam, your hand looks, strange.
No. Hold on. I kind of want to keep going for a little bit longer. Huh? I look down at them and find nothing odd at all. I quirk my eyebrow at the dragon. He's frowning as he stares down at my hand.
It wasn't wrinkled like that, was it?
Oh. Oh, that's cute.
It wasn't wrinkled like that, was it?
Oh. I chuckle and hold up my arms so we can see them better. It's just something that happens when you stay in the water for too long. Don't worry.
I see.
He keeps staring, though, and I grin at him cheekily. Want to find out what it feels like?
Can I?
I was trying to joke about the way he offered me to feel his scales earlier, but I'm taken aback at the enthusiasm in his voice. Sure. I extend my hand and he reaches out, grasping it, then running his fingers over my own, as if trying to feel the bumpy skin that has formed there. With no choice but to stand there, frozen and a little tense, I let him satisfy his curiosity, trying to keep the redness off of my face this time. I breathe out in relief when he lets go, although part of me wishes he'd kept his hold longer, or maybe even moved his hand further. Jeez, Sam, where did all this come from? You went from, it's not like I like you or anything, Baka, to take me now. Being stupid again. We finish dressing and finally head out after checking that no trace of our presence here remains. Like before, the journey's quiet. For the most part, Valos seems to be lost in his own thoughts, and I keep my focus on the path. The shadows lengthen even as we walk. What few clouds I can glimpse through the foliage are painted brilliant hues of pink and orange by the setting sun. As we emerge from among the trees, I pull up my hood again and stick closer to Valos so my presence is less noticeable next to the towering dragon. Once again, we pass the few streets we need to navigate without incident, and soon I'm knocking at the inn's back door.
Oh, you're back.
Herschel lets us in, and I nod at him gratefully as we make our way into the main room, which is now empty, thankfully.
I assume you found the spot? Easily enough. Thank you, Herschel. That was much needed.
It was beautiful. The ox smiles wide at that.
Glad you enjoyed it. You came back just in time for dinner, too. I can bring it upstairs if you'd like.
Oh, thank you, Herschel. I can help with that. Should I come too?
No, it's fine, Sam. You can head to the room and rest a little.
All right. As the two head off towards the kitchen, I go down the hallway and rush out to the staircase. I practically run up the stairs, breathing heavily, but sure that nobody paid me any attention. At least, I hope so. It was a little difficult to tell. Regardless, I head to my room, glancing briefly behind me to see if anybody's in the hallway. Then I freeze, dumbstruck. What? Why? What? There's a red dragon sitting on the stool right in the middle of the room, giving me a wide-eyed stare. What?
Hello?
And we're gonna have to leave this off till next time. What? Did he, walk into the wrong room by accident? Shoot, that's embarrassing. Okay, well, okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to, I don't know where this is gonna go, but, we're gonna have to leave it, blah, blah, blah. What am I trying to say? We're gonna have to pick this up next time then. We're gonna stop it here, folks, and see where this goes. I hope you liked this episode. It was pretty cute. I'm glad Sam's finally being more honest about his obvious attraction and feelings towards Valos. Like, geez, man, come on. What more does he have to do? But regardless, I guess we'll see how this new character, what the situation unfolds for the story. Regardless, I hope you guys liked it. Like I said, gonna upload some more things, and just blah, blah, blah. Thank you guys for watching again. I hope you really liked it. Feel free to check out some other videos on my channel. I'll try to find a way to work in. Please like and subscribe, because I'm past 600 subscribers. Holy cow, that's crazy. 1,000 subscribers doesn't seem like such a pipe dream anymore. So I'm really, really grateful. If you're watching, if you like it, I'm glad. As long as you like it, if you're, I hope you, if you're thinking about subscribing, please, if you really like the content, no pressure or anything like that. I want to get to 1,000, but I really want folks to, really like the content that I'm making. But if it's any incentive, I'm gonna be diversifying my content soon too. I'm finally getting my hands on some animation software, so I'll be working a lot more on that. So you'll see more drawings, more animations, and again, other games soon when I get a more sorted out schedule. But regardless, thanks again. I hope you have a good day, a good night, a good evening, whatever it is for you. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Take care.
So, Mr. Piccolo, what are you going to teach me today? A brand new technique? How to sense energy? What about how... Dodge!